So today I'm going to talk to you about how to use a pendulum. And a pendulum is simply a crystal on the end of some type of swinging device, rope or chain. And in this one, we're using a rose quartz, and this is my preferred one. It's the one that chose me. So if you're standing in front of a stand full of pendulums, and you look at them and you ask, which one of you wants to go home with me? And whichever one on that stand starts to bounce around, that's the pendulum that wants to go home with you. And that's the one you choose because it chose you. And before I use my pendulum, I light a little bit of sage and I clear the energy off my pendulum, the residual energy. And once I cleanse that residual energy, I'm ready to use it. Now, before I use my pendulum, I always connect and protect. If you haven't seen that video on higher self training, so I connect and protect, and I tell my higher self, once we are protected, go ahead and give me a yes. Okay. So for me, a counterclockwise is yes. And for everyone, your yes, no, maybe, rephrase question, or I don't know, they will be different for everyone. So when you initially get your pendulum out right off the bat, you have to ask, show me this, show me a no, show me a yes, and then if you wanted to act a certain way for a yes or act a certain way for a no, then you can reprogram it and say, well, I want you to do this for a yes, or I want you to do that for a no. And then it'll change and react the way you want it to act for those specific answers. So mine's already set. Mine's counterclockwise for a no. For a yes. Go ahead and show me a no. Okay, so it's going side to side for a no. Now, one thing, when you look at the pendulum as it moves, you may look at my hand and say, well, his hand is moving. From the outside looking in, it looks as if I'm moving the pendulum. When you're holding the pendulum, remember, it's being moved by energy from your higher self. So the pull from the pendulum sometimes will move your hand as it pulls back and forth. So I'm not moving the pendulum. It's the energy and the weight of the pendulum pulling and rocking my hand. So don't get confused when some people say, well, it's fake because he's moving it or she's moving it. It's the energy, it's the pull of it that's moving the person's hand. Okay? Go ahead and show me I don't know. So I don't know for me is a clockwise. Now, let me tell you about the I don't know. And I don't know doesn't always mean your higher self doesn't know. I don't know can sometimes mean you need to rephrase your question. So don't give up on the I don't know right off the bat. Rephrase the question, check again, and you may receive an answer. Sometimes that's what you need to do. So I used to in the very beginning, if it's not a no, okay, you don't know, so don't worry about it. Then I'll eventually learn that I don't know is, again, may need to rephrase the question. I also learned that I don't know could mean you may need to give your higher self time. So you may ask your higher self, hey, well, let me give you a minute to find out the answer, and then I'll ask again. Because you got to understand, your higher self may need to go do a recon off that person or off that whatever question you're asking for, and then retrieve the answer. And then once your higher self retrieves the answer, ask again, and you can get your answer. Now, another thing I like to do when using dowsing, and this came to me in a dream, I think I talked about it in one of my other videos, but I'll talk about it again, is I always hold an amethyst when I'm dowsing for protection. I always hold an amethyst. and it helps your energy come in clear, your pendulum energy come in clear. Now, what I always like to hold out a selenite or a labradorite crystal because it helps you connect to the higher self, the angels, the creator, whoever you're talking to at that time. They help you connect faster. And I hold them in my non-receiving or my receiving hand, which is my non-writing hand, because your pendulum typically goes in the hand you write with. So the hand you don't write with is your receiving hand. So this hand is where all the energy from these crystals will come into my body. And then the energy output will be out of my writing hand, if that makes sense. So I always keep these in my hand when I'm dowsing because I notice my readings come in clearer and my pendulum movement is stronger. Now this is a dowsing board I created. I went to Michael's, spent about $10, and took a wood tool, or kind of like a soldering iron, but you can change out the tip. And then I just drew with a hand, with a pencil, and then just used the tip and burned everything in. So the reason why I created this is to get numbers, if I need a year or birthday, or sometimes I get a name. And one of the things I made sure I put on here was rephrase question, because remember I was talking about the I don't know. Sometimes it's not I don't know, sometimes you just need to rephrase it. So right here in the center where my dot is where I always start. And then you just use your board to, you ask questions and you get your yes, you get your no, and you get to move around. When I'm looking for how many curses a person got on a person, he may swing to show me how many curses that person got. It might say they got 3 curses. Now this is me swinging it. This is me doing that. It may swing down a little bit to 0. And then if it swings a little harder, it's telling me to rephrase what I'm asking if I'm asking about numbers. Okay. And then of course I got my letters, so it'll swing hard to make sure it goes towards the letter. Now if it's a repeat, what it'll do, let's say if it's 9 and then another 9, it'll go to the 9 and then it'll come back and make a loop and then it'll go back to the 9. Of course this is me doing this. Okay, so that's what happens with repeats. Same thing if it's a no. If it's a no, then if you don't allow your pendulum to stop before asking another question, then it'll loop, and then it'll go back to no again if the next answer is no. Now, one of the things you have to understand about using your pendulum is that you have to give your higher self time to react. So let's say I'm asking a question, and the answer is yes. And I said, okay. And I asked another question, but it's still swinging at yes. I have to give it time to make sure it doesn't change directions. It might do this and go back to yes. Or it might do this and then go to no. So you have to give your higher self time to make your pendulum react. Do not rush your questions. Give your higher self time. Okay, you can also tell your pendulum to stop. So you can be swinging one direction, and I like to say, okay, thank you. And because I've worked with my pendulum so long, I can say, okay, thank you. And my pendulum, my higher self knows already to stop my pendulum when I say thank you. And then I can ask my next question. Or if I'm, moving kind of fast, I know when I'm asking questions when my pendulum is swinging to give my pendulum time to do its loop and then go to its next question or go to its next answer. Don't rush it. And then if need be, I'll do a confirmation. So that's you definitely just want to make sure you give yourself time. Now another thing you can do if you're asking questions, especially if you're asking questions about somebody, you can do a pre-warm up for your higher self to get answers. So I might say, before we start, I'm going to take a minute or so and let you gather information off of this individual and gather everything you need. And then before we start, once you're ready, go ahead and give me a yes. And then all of a sudden, it'll be sitting like this, and then it'll give me a yes. Just like that. And then we're ready to go. So whoever I'm reading, once that person, once it gives me a yes, and I start asking questions, we're ready to go. My answers come in a lot more quicker. And I'm not just using a pendulum board when I'm asking questions. I have a whole bunch of charts over here that I'm using as well. So that's how you use the pendulum. And you want to be safe. You want to make sure that you don't overwhelm with a bunch of rapid questions. Give it time. And you want to ask realistic questions. You don't want to go in there asking questions that just have nothing to do with nothing. Again, you're connected to the spirit world. So it's nothing to play with. Ask realistic questions. Get your answers. And then once you get your answers, disconnect. Okay? So you connect, protect. If you have some crystals, if you have amethyst and labradorite or selenite, that's perfect. If you don't, you should be fine, even if you don't, because you're protected. Wait till you're protected. Ask your questions. Say thank you to your higher self, and then go ahead and tell your higher self you're ready to disconnect, so that portal is closed. And I think that's it. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments.